Hello and welcome to the Holy Fool podcast. Holy Fool is a nonprofit community of artists and patrons in Denver, Colorado, devoted to holding all things in common. We especially want to support young and emerging musicians and bands who are trying to figure out the financials of how to be in a band and not destroy their life. So we are really excited to be joined by James and Jimmy from Florida emo band Walking Blue. Welcome, guys. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Appreciate
totally.
it.
Yeah. Well, I am excited to talk. First of all, can you tell me, how would you describe your songs to someone who's never heard your music before?
So yeah, we coined our own term called pajama pant, emo flower rock. So that kind of gives like the vibe of it, like college kids and stuff like that. But in terms of like,
Is that the pajama pant, the college kids part?
yeah, like it's kind of just like people who like aren't taking themselves serious for the most part,
Yeah.
I'll go, we'll play a show and I'll be wearing like pajamas that are cut into shorts and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
everybody's like, well, what are you wearing? I'm like, I'm comfortable. So like, it's
What are
that
you
kinda
wearing?
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, are you comfortable? Like, I can do a backflip in these pants, In terms of like genre, it's definitely like a emo punk mix. Like a lot of punk influence from James on the drums and stuff like that, and a lot of emo influence from like the melodies and songwriting on my side. So yeah, emo punk mix.
James, did you add anything to that?
We can sort of associate ourselves with like several different things. I feel like you could call us emo, you could call us punk, you could probably call us pop punk. You could probably call us, Midwest emo to an extent. We don't really have a lot of that like kind of signature like twinkly stuff in our music, but like
Sure.
similar kind of vibes. We see a lot of people at our shows and interact with a lot of people online that are sort of like in those different spheres. So I think it's really cool how we're not just like one thing. I think we're a couple other things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, man. Well, how long have you been writing songs, and how long have you been trying to, is this your first band? Tell me a little bit about your journey with like rock band stuff.
Yeah, so like I write all the songs for Walking Blue. I've been writing songs since I was like 12 on the ukulele and stuff, but like really like writing what I would consider full songs like in high school about. But I never had a band in high school. I'm from New Jersey, and like the music scene where I'm from is just, at least when you're 14, it's kind of hard to get into. I just like did a lot of stuff by myself until I got to college. That's when I met James and we started Walking Blue. So this is my first band. And so yeah, it's been about 3 years now of us kind of like doing the band thing, but James had a different high school experience. So
Yeah, I was in a band in high school that I started. It was called Climb. It was CLIME, Climb. When you're in high school, you're not 18 yet, so it's really hard to get, I mean, not only taken seriously, but also just like be able to go to, bars and places like that are
Mhm.
sort of like the lifeblood of the local scene. So we never really, we made music. We put out an album and an EP, but we never played too many shows or anything like that. The shows that we did play, they were very sort of like, they were like backyard, like to like, our high school friends. They weren't like, scene shows. We did play one scene show one time, and we like just didn't have any idea really what we were doing. We kind of just like, we played and then we bounced right away, and like we didn't realize we weren't supposed to do that. So like,
yeah.
definitely learned a lot in doing that though.
Yeah, they had a great sound, but they were a little too young for their like abilities,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So tell me about Walking Blue. Tell me a little bit about some of like who your influences are.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, my biggest influences, like, on writing, definitely, are
Mhm.
modern baseball is, like, the number one. You can hear that in a lot of my songs, just, like, the
Yeah.
choruses and stuff like that, and then I do take a lot of inspiration from Mom Jeans with their, like, fun lyrics that can also be super, like, heavy and things like that, they kinda, like, fit into, like, if you put the pajama pant emo as, like, a real genre, they would fit under that, like, not taking yourself too seriously in your music, but still getting across a message that might be, like, something really important to you. So I would say they're my probably two biggest writing influences. And sonically, like guitar wise, I love the way that Turnstile sounds like with guitars and stuff. Like our music doesn't really emulate that, but just like the guitar tones that they get, like I love that stuff. I love looking into it and learning more about it through those guys, Turnstile, and Joyce Manor would be another one for me.
James, how about you? Who are some influences either on the whole band sound or just in your drumming?
Yeah, I mean, really, just since Jimmy's the songwriter, a lot of our music sort of comes down to like, the bands that he was saying, like Mom Jeans, Modern Baseball, stuff like that. I feel like though with my like drumming, I bring a lot of like it's such a generic answer, but Travis Barker, like he's had such
mean,
his
he's the
drumming has
GOAT.
had such a profound impact on, just I mean my life, my own personal drumming style, like that whole kind of thing.
If I
I
had a
guess
nickel, if I had a nickel for every time my band ripped off Travis Barker, I would have several $100s. That man is the king for the reason, right?
he is,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so like Travis Barker, I'd say Steve-O from Sum 41, also massive influence on my playing. Recently, I feel like it's been more, I guess, like I don't know what to call it, like hard rock, not hard rock, but like more in the rock world. Abe Cunningham from Deftones, like massive inspiration on me right now. I've been listening to, I sort of, well, I saw Deftones, they were in Orlando
Mhm.
in like April, and I really only like got into them a few months before that.
Yeah.
And then, sometimes you see a band and you're like, from that point you're like obsessed with that band, and that's
Yeah.
sort of been me with Deftones.
So tell me a little bit about your band. What direction are you ambitious towards with your band? I saw from just following you guys online that you got to open up at Warp Tour, and that is a lifelong dream of mine. A little slight jealousy, but that is so sick. That's such an awesome opportunity. Tell me a little bit about how that came about, and then what are you trying to do in general with the band right now?
So it was in like, I think probably around March or April, I want to say. So Ernie Ball had a Battle of the Bands contest, where it's essentially, you submit like something like a music video, a live video, anything like that. And then there's like a community page where you can just scroll through all the entries and like, vote on them, like, who you want to see play Warped Tour, that kind of thing. And, bands can like promote their entries and stuff like that. And just sort of, I saw that and I was like, oh, we might be able to get some new ears on our music. And so I did a single submission. It was our music video for our song Bodies. And so I just submitted that. We didn't like, tell people to vote for us or anything like that. I just wanted to like put that out there. And then, to be honest, like I completely forgot that we like entered or anything like that. And then I'm in a Best Buy on, it was the because I remember this because it was the day that the Switch 2 dropped. And so I wanted to go like check it out. And I was in a Best Buy, and I was like over by the Switch, and I get my phone buzzes. I look at it and it's an email, and the subject line is like Vans Warped Tour 2025 Orlando, and I'm like, what is this? And I
What are we
open it and
looking
I read
at?
the email, and he's like, hey, we really liked your entry. Like, how would you like to play Vans Warped Tour? And at this point, this was in, I think we found out we were doing it in June. And the lineup had been out for a while, so we'd all seen it and been like, oh, that'd be so cool to go, like whatever. And then it sort of like, we got that email, and then it said in like, we're gonna be playing with these guys, like, we're gonna be on the same, lineup as these guys. And
It
I
was,
mean, it was nuts, and it was so unexpected.
yeah.
Especially because like when I first submitted us, it wasn't, I didn't have winning in mind. Like that in my
Yeah,
mind, that wasn't like that wasn't a possibility,
you're just shooting your shot.
Yeah.
Right, right.
It was one of those things where like, it'll be like in like the commercial, it's like the, Nickelodeon sweepstakes or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, like whatever,
Yeah,
just
like
something that
going to
sounds
Zach and
cool.
Cody Nickelodeon
Yeah, like
cruise,
that's
like
the, like
the
it's something
Danimals
like that where
cruise,
it's
like
just like you never think it's gonna happen, and then it did. Like I remember calling the email was like that it came from was like the guy's first name at
yeah,
ernieball.com. So we're like this can't be fake, like it's gotta be
Yeah,
real.
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I went to the last Warp Tour in 2018. I was 13 years old, and my sister was big into the Warp Tours and stuff, and she was like, I was into like Nirvana at that time, so not really like the Warp Tour type sound, but like
Yeah,
she knew I would be eventually, and she's like, you
yeah.
gotta go, and ended up being full circle. But yeah, I mean, so after that, obviously, like the response online and everything has been huge and awesome, and we've connected with people all over the country and stuff. So like next for us, we definitely want to like get on the road as much as possible. Me and him are finishing school this next semester, so yeah, we just want to just drive and play in every new city that we possibly can. And we met a lot of people from all around now, so we're pretty confident in like our abilities to get up there and have places to stay and people to play with and just have a good time.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you think so far is the most rewarding part about being in a band for you guys?
For me, it's just playing live because like I just spend so many hours sitting in my room like writing and like just like doing it like by myself that like when we play live in front of people, and I mean, there's just nothing like the energy of a crowd. You know, when you do something and they react, it's like, oh, there's nothing like that feeling, you know, it's so rewarding.
I think for me, it's a little bit, well, obviously that too, but I think on a more personal level, it's, you know, just being a drummer, like it's hard to, like drums are complementary to like a melody or like, you know, like a song or a riff or whatever. And so I feel like without having that medium of like my own music, you know, I'd sort of be just stuck playing like covers, or know, I'd have all these ideas and all these things that I wanted to do, and I'd have no outlet for them. Like they'd all just kind of be like lost to time. So I think that's definitely why I enjoy being like in a band so much, is that outlet.
Well, yeah, because it feels different to be writing and arranging your own original music than just
Right.
like it's dope to learn Back in Black by AC/DC, but like
Yeah.
yeah, like being able to actually put your own stuff out there, put songwriting is wild and arranging is wild. Even if you weren't there, like when the lyrics and the melody were being written, every member of a band, in my opinion, has to think like a songwriter, because you're thinking about arrangement and dynamics, and you're thinking about the flow of the album, whether it's an EP or an LP or whatever. And like, you put yourself into it. There's truly nothing like it, because you're like literally like you're kind of like, well, this is me. This is at least a part of me.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
contain multitudes that aren't just this, but like this is a piece of me that I'm offering to the world, which is crazy.
I never thought about that like from the drummer standpoint, because like
Yeah.
like when I'm not with the band, I have like my own solo project, and like I write all the time. I guess your only real canvas is to like write with us, you know, and do that kind of things.
Well, yeah, and like I play, you know, I get the not just from Walking Blue. I play drums for an artist named Amani Minot, and you know, I love playing drums with him. His songs are like they're so much fun, and playing live, there's so much energy and stuff like that. But you know, it's just like being able to write my own parts in Walking Blue is just like something special, you know.
Well, what do you think? I know that you've been a band for 3 years. That's long enough to have some disappointments and discouragements and some struggles. So tell
Big time, yeah.
yeah. So tell me a little bit about some of the struggles you faced in making music, some of the barriers that stop you from writing and recording in the way that you want to do going on tour. What are some stuff that you're struggling with?
Yeah, so like early on, had a lot of problems with members, you know, like again, it really all I think stems from being so young when we started. Like we were all 18, 19 when we started the band, and so like, you know, going into it, we started with 3 guys, and like me and James just had such different expectations of like what a band should be. You know, we were a lot more like professional, and so like that, like you said, like letdowns. You know, like you're expecting your friends to want what you want, and you know, it takes a long time to see like, okay, we don't all want the same thing, but it's not that big of a deal. Like you just find people that want the same thing. So like obviously members is like the big one, and then just the time constraint with school, and like all of our members are in school still, and so it's like the weekdays are like already like shot for like the whole day, you know. And so I know that's like how it is if you have a regular 9 to 5, but like it's still really difficult for us when we're all so close together, but we just don't have the time, you know.
Yes.
So yeah, time and members is the big ones, and then, you know, the consistent throughout everybody's lives is money, obviously. So
Yeah.
I think we've been extremely responsible. Every month, every dime we've ever made from the band has gone like right back into our bank account, and like saved up for recording and stuff. So like that's at least we're good at that. You know, at least like we're okay with that.
How did you know to save up to start a band's bank account and save it up? How did you know to do that? Was that advice that you got from someone else who'd been in a band before, or was that parents or other folks? What?
I think we just like conjure that ourselves, because we're like we noticed we wanted merch immediately, you know. We wanted to get merch, and we wanted to buy more things, and I think we just were immediately like, this is going to be an expensive endeavor, like, and none of us have like personal money just to spend, you know. So we're like, okay, like let's be smart about this. Yeah, I don't really know like how we started, but it's been like that since day one.
So originally, well, not to like take credit, I think it was pretty much my idea, because that's what I did with my high school band, where it was like, you know, we didn't want to pay out of pocket for things, because because that's, I mean, it's hard enough, getting everybody to like agree to, pay, say, if their share of something is 250, like everybody pays the 250. But then it's also like, did you pay yet? Like, make sure you, do it like that. Like, it's just too complicated.
The dynamics get weird when money's involved.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so it sort of came from my experience with that. Initially, it was a PayPal account, so it would be, everything would go. We'd get cash, we'd get Venmos, stuff like that. We would figure out whatever way we needed to like funnel it all into this PayPal account, and then we started having like we started getting like these emails that were like, basically, your PayPal balance is like now taxable or something like that. And we're like, all right, well, we don't want, we don't know what we're doing with that.
And it was also like the after shows, like I would have to Venmo like $300 to the Walking Blue Venmo and all that stuff. Like it was a mess.
Right. And so I think it was like last year around September, we incorporated ourselves as an LLC so that we could open up like a business checking account. And I don't have my wallet with me, or else I'd show it. But we have a like business like credit or business debit card.
Don't be showing the card.
Put it right up to the camera so I can.
I'll flip it around too, so you can see the
CVC and everything. Why not?
Yeah. But
Smart guys.
Basically just like, like Jimmy was saying, everything that we've, I think with the exception of our debut album, because we wanted to like do it right and go to a studio and stuff like that, that took personal investment. Also because we didn't really, I mean, like when we recorded that album, we hadn't really played a public show yet.
Right.
So we didn't have anything to go with, so that, had to kind of be a personal investment. But everything since then has sort of come from like the band being like sustainable, like we don't do anything that we can't afford. And so as a result, we can kind of just like, our personal finances or whatever, we have our band account, and that's what we use for like merch, stuff like that, recording, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's good. That's super wise, guys. The thing that I see destroy so many bands that I love and have loved is not taking the money part seriously, and also having ambitious goals that cost money that are just ever so slightly outside of what's actually like feasible or wise for you. And then bands end up like trying to go, okay, well, I guess I need to go work with a label, or I need to like, you end up putting yourself in situations where, because it's good to be ambitious and it's good to think about how can I leverage the last win that I got into the next win that I'm going to get, like, and you keep sort of like building on that foundation of wins. But like you end up putting yourself in situations where you say yes to things as a band where, I've got buddies who are like $90,000 in debt with their band. And it's just like, because they like really wanted to tour Europe and they really wanted to like, they wanted to do the next thing. And I'm never going to naysay or like criticize, like what somebody else does because they think it's a smart move, right? But it breaks my heart because debt is a particular kind of anxiety and shame in our culture. So like, it's broken up bands that I've loved because they just owed too much money, or it just became too discouraging. And you got to kind of keep the love of the game going. No matter how much momentum or success you get, you have to still love it. And it has to feel, creativity requires play and freedom to do it. And when you feel like shackled with like the anxiety of debt or whatever, it just like, it kills your creative spirit, right? So I think well done, guys, thinking wisely about that.
Yeah, I think the only thing worse than having no money is owing money.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep ourselves away from that as long as we can.
Yeah, that's right. And you've already got student loan debt, so you don't need to add band.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things that we have done in Denver with Holy Fool is that we started this nonprofit where we try to be a source of community, mutual encouragement, good advice. It's so isolating sometimes when you're in a band. And sometimes bands get into this mindset of like every other band out there is my competition and not my community. So, what does community and scene building look like in Florida? I know that younger bands, you're also a hybrid of in person in your local community, in your local scene, and also the bands that you can get to know online, right? But what's your scene look like right now? Do you have mutual encouragement and support?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really the only reason we're doing this is because we started in Orlando. Like the immediate support from other bands and just like people who love music was like unbelievable when we first
Mm.
got there. I love all the things that you're talking about, the community of music, like people supporting each other, bigger bands helping littler bands and all that stuff. So like I've done a ton of stuff on social media with like highlighting, 3 new local bands or like the shows happening this weekend. And so that's done like a lot for kind of bringing people together in that way. I just think the scene is like so powerful because there's only like very like specific cases of bands that are like, kind of pretentious or like, oh, we're better than you. But like it just doesn't happen like that much, And there's Dear Cincinnati is another Midwest emo band from Tallahassee, and they're like skyrocketing right now. And like we're really good friends with them. We have been from the start and stuff. And like when I talk to them, there's nothing of them being like, yeah, we're going on tour and you guys aren't. It's all like, look, we're going on tour, but this is how we got there, and you guys can
Yes.
do this to get there and do this.
Yes.
And like it's all just like helping each other out because we were in the scene before they were, so we got them started on the local level, and now they're helping us get up to a touring level. And so it's like I've just been amazed by the community that I've seen and like the support for band to band.
We've had experiences where like we'll play with a band and they'll not even give us the time of day, and we're like, all right, like we're never playing with you again. Like cool. So it's like
Yeah, it's not hard.
so much of it. Yeah, it's not hard. It's so much of it is like the attitude that you have towards like sort of like building that community. Like, one of the points that Jimmy made in one of the videos that he did about like like scene etiquette, basically the point was, you shouldn't leave shows early. You should always, especially as an audience member, but especially as a band, support the other bands that are on the bill with you. And there were quite a few people in that comment section that had a problem with that, and it's very telling because I mean, not to like, I'm not saying this in like a number shaming way or anything like that, but like you click on these profiles and they're like, they have like 2 shows under their belt or something like that, and it's like, all right, well, you're either an asshole or you're just like new to things.
Yeah. I got so much hate, like just from random people who like, and I always would. I know you're not supposed to, but I always would click on their accounts and be like, who is this guy? And like again, the same thing, like some dude in his room, and it's like, come on, like you guys are the ones that don't understand this,
Yeah,
Yeah.
in my band we call it the local band mindset, where
Mhm.
it's like you think you're hot shit and you're the main character, and everybody else sort of exists as like an NPC to sort of like be there on your hero's journey. And I think it's a manifestation of we're flirting with that spirit of main character syndrome as a culture, right? So we're sort of like struggling right now to reclaim a sense of communal identity and communal care for each other. And, like we have manifestations of that in our dating lives or our friendship lives. Like it feels like as soon as somebody doesn't they're not getting what they wanted out of their relationship, they're just going to drop their relationship as soon as a relationship starts costing them something. Because it's like we all think about ourselves as like the center of the universe, right? But one of the beautiful things about when I came up, I grew up in West Virginia, really small town, but we had a very vibrant emo and ska and DIY scene. And those shows that were just in like church basements or like in a really, really crappy place with a crappy PA, the sense of community that I found there, where we would legit, if we had friends that were like struggling to make rent or had maybe got kicked out of their house or had a financial struggle, we would book a show, and every single bit of the door from that show would go to our friend who was like struggling financially. And that just taught me that especially music doesn't exist just for me. But we're in a time where like the Spotify algorithm sort of reinforces that I'm the main character in life because it's making all these like tailor-made recommendations and playlists like just for me. But like that's a different music experience than actually going to shows being someone who's there for every single person that's at those shows, right? And so I'm glad that there are younger bands like y'all that are treating the work of like, what is scene etiquette, scene building, like what does that actually look like? So bravo to you guys.
Yeah. I mean, that's a super like interesting point. I think because it really isn't just us. It's every band that we've interacted with in Orlando is like has the same mentality, and like it's like you're saying, like it's getting out there and it's getting in the live music spaces. I think the only people who would comment on our video and say stay the whole time, no, I'm leaving, and things like that are people who haven't been in those live music spaces. Like you're not going to come to a show that's a benefit show for someone and be like, I'm leaving early because like I'm too good for all this. Like you're not
Right.
gonna do that because
Right.
you're just not. You're a human being, and so like people just got to get themselves out there, get into these physical spaces, and like just get offline. Like come on, like you're saying, like it's important to do social media and all that, but like music exists in the community and it exists
Yes.
for the community.
Social media is a tool to get you actually into a room of sweaty kids slam dancing, right?
Exactly.
It's not, online isn't the end goal, it's a means to an end, and that end is actually in-person community, in my opinion.
Definitely. Even if the money is all online, if that's what they say nowadays,
Yeah,
okay,
whatever.
I'll be in a venue. I'll be in a venue and I'll be playing.
Yeah. Well, and even I crunched the numbers. So, Spotify keeps paying less and less, right? And for a band to make $10 on a 10-song album, for one fan to make that band $10 in streaming revenue, that one fan would have to stream that record every day, once a day, for 365 days. So listen to I don't even do that with my favorite records, like Jimmy Eat
That's
World.
so dumb.
Yeah.
That's so dumb.
So like Jimmy Eat World Clarity, which is like I think the greatest album of all time, in my opinion.
That is a banger. That is a banger album.
Yeah.
Do you like what do you think about Futures?
I love
Do you like
Futures.
that one too?
I think Clarity, well, I really think Static Prevails through Futures is like a perfect 4-album run for Jimmy Eat World. That's probably my favorite band of all time. Those records, you can't wear those out. It's almost like gold and perfection. It's like those records mean more to me than any other records made by any band in the history of the world. And how often do I listen to them? I think maybe 3 times a year. It's like they're not on every week. It's like you got to go back to it when it calls to you. But Spotify funds music that is infinitely repeatable and background music in a lot of ways. It's just music that's like innocuous enough to not get skipped, right?
Right.
So you'd have to listen to a record every day, once a day for a whole year to make that band $10. But what if you just showed up to a merch table and handed a crisp $10 bill and they handed you a CD, a compact disc, or a cassette tape or whatever?
Exactly.
And that makes the band literally the same amount of money or more than streaming revenue. So even this like mindset of the money is online, I'm like, I don't know, man. Because like if you print t-shirts, it costs you $15 per shirt to print, but you sell it for $25. You sell one shirt, that's $10 for your band fund. And that's more money than if they went and listened every day, once a day. So it's like, I think the physical embodied merch table commerce is actually way more of a sustainable income and revenue stream for a band. But that just means that you're going to have to hustle and get on shows and play shows. You can't play shows all the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, when I say like the money's online, I mean that because that's what I've heard from other people.
Yeah.
Totally.
In our experience, I mean, we've made $0 from social media. All of our money has been, ticket sales and merch sales, So
and I
agree
think
with
like
what you're saying.
in our, I've looked at our DistroKid or whatever. I think we could probably very easily make in, probably 5 shows or something like that, 4 or 5 shows. We could very easily make everything that we've made from streaming ever in like, just indoors from like a couple shows.
Right.
It's crazy. Like we've never looked at streaming as like this, we're gonna go make so much money. Streaming is a tool for people to discover us, and it's sort of that that platform where they can just, they can listen to us, and they can, our music is there for, if you're going through a hard time in your life, you turn on Sleeping with Your Rings on, maybe it makes you feel better. Ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what our music is there for. It's not there to, we're not putting it out there to make money. We're putting it out there for the people. And it's sort of
Yeah.
a tool like, you could look at it as, we want to get people to, come to our show. So we're going to, put out this song, and, people hopefully will like the song and they'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, I bet that band's good live or whatever. And then they go to the show, so it's,
Yeah.
yeah,
I like that mindset of the recorded music is kind of a gift that you give to the world. It's just like it
yeah,
exists sort of totally altruistically. It's just
right.
out there for you. And even, like the live show, it costs money, but that's also kind of a gift that you give. But you got to figure out a lifestyle as a band or an artist that giving that gift is sustainable for you. You're not bleeding yourself dry to try to
Exactly.
give that gift to the world. And that's why taking seriously the financial stuff, I think, is so key. I want to come back to some of the struggles that you're facing. How could a community, a scene, whether that's a scene locally for you or a scene that exists sort of with some friendships that you've made online, how could a community of fans, patrons, other bands, songwriters, and artists help you in some of the things that you're struggling with right now?
So, I mean, I guess number one would be like other bands in the scene. Like, I've had a lot of people reach out to us, or just I've seen online, oh, these guys are coming to town, but they're playing at a venue that, like, I know the owner is a scumbag, I know you're not going to get paid that night, but you would have no way of knowing that if you're from out of town,
Right.
Because those things exist everywhere. And it's not just
Yes.
that, it's all different things, the like social stigmas of some places and things like that. And there's all these different things that you wouldn't know unless you're on the ground floor. So, like, sharing that information and being like, totally honest with someone, if someone booked a show at a venue that you think is going to hurt them as a band, like, you should probably just tell them and things like that. And then
Yeah.
just, of course, supporting the bands that are on the road. Like we've stayed at people's houses before, on the floor and things like that. And we've like set people up in Orlando with floors to sleep on and things like that. So just that, like, that backbone support of, if you need somewhere to sleep, I gotcha. If you need advice on where to go, I gotcha, things like that. Because it can be scary going to a new place. We haven't played super far from our hometown, but I mean, we played in like Tallahassee, and you're in a new place. You're in a brand new place. The first time we played there, we didn't know anybody we were playing with, and it wasn't really a fun time, So, like, I wish we had a band that was watching it happen and being like, you know what, boys, I'm going to be so honest with you. Driving 4 hours for this is not worth your money. It's not worth your time. You're going to be unhappy. And then we would have been like, okay,
Yeah. Or drive 4 hours and just work with slightly different people.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
there are some scumbags or people that are just not a great hang. And how would you know unless you are, like, I think of every city and every scene having like angels of goodwill in them, like people who are just absolutely, like, they're the saintly people who are going to make sure everyone's having a good time, everyone's safe and taken care of. And if we can just connect every scene of angels of goodwill with each other, so that way, like, if a young band is booking a tour, it's like, can we just tee them up to have a great experience touring? Now, it's inherently hard to travel to do music, and especially in DIY spaces, you are likely going to lose money on 17 things, right? But if you had kind people of goodwill in each scene taking care of each of the younger touring bands, what a better experience. And hopefully bands would get a taste for it and then start doing that concentric circle of, okay, I'm driving 4 hours. Now I'm booking a weekender. Now I'm doing a 5-day. Now I'm doing a 10-day, and be able to use that foundation to, like, do more and more.
Definitely. And I think, like, a big thing that has kind of, like, grown apparent to me, like, doing the music thing is, like, when you support other bands that are doing things similar to you, like, it's, if not just good karma, like, it's like they'll return the favor, when you're in that time of need, like, those people will do it for you. And like,
Yeah.
like, just if one band blows up and makes it huge, then the rest of everybody they're
Yeah.
connected to gets like a little bit of help from that,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
Like,
we're all in the same lottery, and if
Yeah.
one person wins, everybody wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, it's happened before, literally, where, we'll maybe help a, smaller band out, or a new band out, by getting them on, like, one of our lineups, or a show that we're on. And, they'll, they get a little bit bigger, and then they come to us one day and they're like, hey, we have this, like, absolutely banger show. We want you to be on it. And
Right.
it's like, if we never, like, I guess, took a chance on them or helped them out like that, they never would have, like, helped us out like that. So sort of by investing in your community, you're also sort of helping yourself. if that
You
makes
are.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a paradox because you can't do it just from that selfish motivation. Like you can't do it because like,
Right.
oh, this is good marketing for me, and
hmm
I'll pretend to be nice until those
Yeah.
good things come back to me. So you gotta from your heart be the genuine sort of person that's gonna like love and serve others. But
hmm
you're 100% right. The most recent example of that is these guys, Aren't We Amphibians? So we have been friends with those guys for like 3 years. Back when my band, A Place for Owls, was like bigger than their band. When we did our West Coast tour, we played with them in Pomona, California, had a wonderful experience, right? And literally playing with them and watching their set, I'm like, in a year and a half, they're gonna be huge. Like they're gonna be way. And now they were on that Harrison Gordon tour.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
Jimmy
Yeah.
just saw them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
And
fantastic.
they're so sick. They're flawless and such kind young people. They're like my favorite band. But we had that same experience where they basically asked us, they like suggested us to Harrison Gordon, and Harrison Gordon was like, yeah, we'll get A Place for House open. And so it's like we went from the band on tour that they're the smaller band opening for to they're the band on tour, and now we're the smaller band opening for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but it like, if your ego gets involved, you're like, but like,
Yeah.
but if you are open-hearted about it, you're like, this is so sick. They deserve it 100%. And also, I benefit from it. I got to play a kick-ass show, like sold out nearly at the Marquee in Denver, which is my favorite venue to play. So
Nice.
just absolute banger, right?
Yeah, we have like a kind of similar thing with that with Dear Cincinnati I mentioned earlier, because they reached out to me just about a year ago. They got started and they sent me like their single, their first debut single, and they were just
Mhm.
like, "Hey man, like we're from Tally, like give it a listen or whatever."
Right.
I listen to a lot of people who just send me the stuff. I'm like, "Oh yeah, of course I'll check it out." And like theirs like really stuck out to me because it's like Midwest emo, and that's what I like. So I remember being like, "Y'all are crazy!" Like
Yeah.
I think I see something huge happening, and then
Yeah.
like some of their first shows they played were with us, and now they're touring with Camping in Alaska and all these other
Yeah.
people, and
Yeah.
like again, like we said, giving us advice, but then also like they're coming to Orlando in February, and we're playing this giant show with them with like
Yes.
Yeah.
Adjust the Sails and a couple other emo bands and stuff.
Yeah.
So like and I feel like never once has it crossed my mind of like, oh, that should be us. Like all
Yeah.
that like for me
Yeah.
it's just like go like let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
It's so exciting to watch,
Yeah. And to give them their props too, like, we're not trying to like take credit for that at all. I mean, those dudes, they've driven cross country to
dogs.
do one-off shows before,
Right.
like
Yeah.
those guys are nuts.
We did
Yeah,
not have
and
that in us
They
when we
deserve
first
everything.
started.
They're
Yeah.
super hardworking.
Well, that's probably, I'm going to say that I don't think I would say that that's a good idea to do, to drive across the country, do a one-off show.
They're just dogs. Like they're just dogs.
Yeah.
It's like no matter
Yeah.
what, we're gonna be there and we're gonna
Yeah.
play and we're gonna
Yeah.
freaking smile about it and make
Well, the
friends
whole-
along the way.
The whole reason why we called the nonprofit Holy Fool is because there is a like pure-hearted foolishness to do music. Like you have to kind of believe in an alternative world, like a world that doesn't
Right.
actually, it's not the real world, but you kind of believe in a world that's more beautiful and possibilities are more open to you. It's like
Yeah.
like an act of faith to
Yeah.
write songs and record and make music, right?
Yeah.
And
It's a
Absolutely.
religion.
yeah, so maybe they were holy fools driving across the country to do that one-off show.
Yeah. Back to kind of what Jimmy was saying about like, some of the past like members that we've had. They're, we ask a lot of ourselves, and we ask like a lot of the people that we're, in the bands with. I mean, we're doing all this with the end goal of being, at least like a regional, touring band, like doing this, somewhat for like a career. And to have that mindset, you need to sort of be willing to like almost be delusional about it, where it's like, because the
What was the
steps
term
that
you used, James? It was like controlled delusion or something.
maybe
You had a
something
word
like
for
that,
it where
yeah.
it was like managed delusion, like
Yeah.
delusion but managed.
Yeah. But it's like, because the steps that take you to that point are they're so small, and like really it is kind of like exponential. Like you sort of start off, you're like, you go from like a 100 cap venue to like a 200 cap venue in your town, and then it's like the right eyes get on you, and it goes like that. And so it's like those, you have to be willing to kind of see those like small steps for what they are, as like a huge, or as like some kind of measure of like progress,
Mhm. Mhm.
and sort
Mhm.
of be delusional, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Where it's
Yeah.
like, like we really can like do this. And
Mhm.
you'll hear along the way, people who like sort of like doubt you, or like doubt the dreams or whatever. And like, like obviously I love my parents and they're super well intentioned,
Oh,
but
here
sort
we
of
go.
it's
Here we
funny
go.
how it sort of changed, because at the start it was like, well, what's the backup plan? Like what's gonna happen? And like freshman year they were like, what's gonna happen when you graduate college and you need to like lock down a career or something like that. And sort of, I don't know if it's just like the Warped Tour thing or what, but now it's sort of changed to like, what's next for the band? Like what's the band's like next step?
How does that feel to maybe so you've had this delusional, hopeful dream, and how does that feel to see others around you, whether it's parents or friends, that delusional dream starts to feel a little bit more legitimate to them? Like
Yeah.
it's viable in some way. Now, that doesn't mean that you're guaranteed ease or
Right.
even
Yeah.
financial prosperity. You may just like your definition of success may be I have food and I have shelter and that's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But like, how does that feel for you to feel maybe a little bit more like the dream is honored by the people around you?
Yeah. I think, well, I mean, obviously, it feels good. I feel sort of, it's like, it's almost like a full circle
Mm.
kind of thing a little bit, or it's like, it's a huge payoff. And, I get a lot of sort of like pride from it, where it's like, like, I can't speak for like Jimmy's parents or whatever, but like with my parents, they're always, they're very like grounded in like reality. And so
Hmm.
I think that it's initially it was hard for them to sort of like see the kind of like vision that I had, or that we had. They were accounting for the realistic thing sort of happening, like, we play a couple shows around Orlando and sort of that's that. Basically, they've just been able to expand their mindset a little bit. I think probably your parents have had a similar arc there, Jimmy, I would imagine.
It's been completely fascinating for me to watch like my mom react to my life because I'm the only person to ever do music or pretty much anything like artistic in my family. My older siblings did a very like 4 years of college to like stable job right out, and so like that's what they were kind of expecting for me to do. And so when I like wasn't going on that track, like halfway through college didn't have any internships, and like I could see that stressing my mom out like a good bit. My dad's a different story because he's one of those, do it, be young. He's one of those guys, and my mom's a
Yeah.
lot more like, how are you gonna eat, So like I had both ends of the spectrum, and after it really was after Warped Tour, my mom was like you would be such an idiot to just like waste this, or like move back home after school and just like give up on it, like. So because I wanted to, after we graduated, spend a couple months like really getting some money in my bank account, and my mom was like, you're wasting time, make music. And I was like, damn, okay. Like, it's one thing to hear that from your friends and
Right.
your band, but like to hear it
Right.
from your
Right.
your mom, who like only wants what's best for you, it's like,
Yeah.
maybe it is what's best for me, It
That's
makes
it.
it gives you a lot more confidence.
It's very validating. I guess
Yeah.
if I had to put it into one word, it'd be validating.
Yeah. Well, I just to encourage you, the songs sound amazing. The melodies are there,
Thank you.
the hooks are there, the energy is there. It's got that drive, it's got that grit and that sweetness that I really love about my favorite in melodic punk or emo music. And you guys clearly, just from watching, I've never seen you live, but like watching clips online, it's like you seem tight. Like you seem like you communicate and you listen to each other, and you can be sloppy in a charming way, but also like be actually dialed on the
Yeah.
thing. And so you've got it, whatever it is, in my opinion, right? But I really want you guys to think about, just as an I'll be seen uncle for a second, right? Like you really have to figure out a path forward where you don't lose the joy, you don't lose your soul, and you don't get yourself into financial trouble doing it. That's not cold water on the dream, right? That is, how can the dream be a sustainable thing forward? How can the dream not destroy every other aspect of my life? And the main things that I see in my friends that the dream has been absolutely demolished for them is they lost the joy, they lost their soul on some level, and they got into financial trouble. So I don't know what that path forward looks like for y'all, but I really, you do have the opportunity to take the calling of songwriting and recording and going on tour seriously. But I guess, what reflections do you have when you ideate into the future about what the next few years could look like? What do you think not losing the joy, not losing your soul, and not getting into financial trouble, what do you think that looks like for you?
I mean, that's a tough question, because it's like I would hope that that's just kind of what we've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely been times where my motivation has dropped and things like that, but I think, like, I trust my brother here, like, so much, and like I genuinely do just enjoy. Like, yesterday I was at a family party and I got on the phone with him for what was supposed to be a minute, and we were talked for like 45 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
I think just as long as like we stick together and like we
Yeah.
continue to communicate about what we both want out of this and what the
Mhm.
other guys around us want out of it, like, just, I think that's how we stay
Yeah.
consistent and together. But I just
Yeah.
love it so much. I love my people I do it with. I love the community that we found, and I love like every bit of it.
Yeah, and I think sort of like some of the things that you were saying that you've seen bands, break apart over, we try to be very conscious of those sort of like things and avoid those happening. I would say it's sort of, we're having so much fun with the music, it's sort of an afterthought, but I mean, it's really not. Like, it's something that we're all very, aware of. And like we've like been, consulting with like industry people and lawyers and stuff like that, and like just trying to make sure that we're in as best a spot we can be to avoid some of those sort of things happening to us. Like, like recently we've done a lot of thinking about what are things that could come back to bite us in the ass in the future. And now is the time to address those things, even if it means spending probably quite a little bit of money on addressing some of those things. That's, for us, that's a very important step with like, we need to make sure our heads are in the right place with, where we want to be, and how, once we get there, we can have the best experience being there,
Mm-hmm.
if that
Mm-hmm.
sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
It's happened to us a little bit already, where it's sort of, once it reaches a certain point, you're not just bandmates anymore, you're sort of business partners.
Right.
And, if you lose yourself to that sort of business partner mentality or mindset, I think that's when the music starts to suffer. I think that's when like band motivation starts to suffer, and things like that. So yeah, I guess in terms of balance, we all trust each other.
Mm-hmm.
Say Jimmy's like, well, I wrote the songs, I get 90% of the royalties, like, stuff like that. Like, everything with us has been 25% down the middle. Nobody is more important than anybody, and
Mm-hmm.
for us, that's been very rewarding, and I think it's worked very well in our favor.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know anything about the history of Paramore and Hayley Williams, but when Paramore got signed to a major label back when they were younger than y'all, it was a contract with Hayley Williams doing business as Paramore. And all
Yeah.
Wow.
all the rest of the band members were hired musicians for Hayley Williams doing business as the band Paramore. And that, if you just look at their history, that effed them as far as that sense of community and bandship in a real and genuine way. And so it is kind of like being in a band is essentially being married to like three other dudes. My band, we've been together since 2019, and we've all had the privilege that this is not our first rodeo. Like, we've all had bands and projects in college, and then this was like our post, like, into adulthood band. And we have famously always said that we're such good friends that if any aspect of the business of the band had the temptation to ruin an aspect of that trust or that mutual commitment in friendship, that we just wouldn't do that thing. Or we would break up the band tomorrow. We would rather stay friends than stay in a band together. Now, that creates a threshold, a floor of trust and listening. And you got to, like in any good romantic relationship, you got to have clear communication. You got to talk it out. You got to hug it out, right? And so being able to communicate clearly, but then also have like clear markers of like, okay, we can't actually go down that road because that would be a betrayal of our friendship or a betrayal of some of our values together. And that's honestly the only, and we have the same, we started a band LLC. We're all 5 members. So we're all, 20% owners. Or does that math check out?
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
20.
Yeah. I love that you're thinking about that, guys. Any other thoughts on some of the sort of keep your soul, don't get yourself into trouble going forward?
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much said all of it. I think like the relationship I have with James especially is like I have a brother and I have a best friend that I grew up with, and this is like a totally different thing because like
Yeah.
with neither of those guys would it be like we start bickering with each other and then like we have to sit down and be like, all right, bro, like I'm sorry, like I love you, like we're in this together, and we live together too, so that's another thing.
Yeah.
Like we really are, we are some intertwined guys,
Yeah.
but kind of just like again trusting each other, open communication, and
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I just like going forward in music, I want to like take better care of like myself, like physically and
Yeah.
all that, to like make sure that I
Yeah.
can like sing for as long as I want to and
Mhm.
play back-to-back shows and things like that. Like I want to get
Yeah.
better at that because
Vocal warm-ups,
yeah,
don't consume alcohol or other things at an unsustainable rate.
Mhm.
Just like be you're not in party mindset, you're in showmanship mindset.
Right.
You're like essentially like all the stuff that an opera singer or a classical pianist would like go through to make sure that they're ready to perform. Do like whatever the fun rock band equivalent of that is. So we do vocal warm-ups in the car, but still, if we'll do a 10-day, my voice, because I'm pushing my vocals a little bit too much, my voice is shot by like day 5, right? And so just like figuring out a way to do it, that's, you're taking care of yourself. I love that, man.
Yeah. I think another thing that's also very important is making sure that everybody in the band is on the same page about where everybody sees the band going. Like, it's a conversation that, we've with some of our past members, we've sort of been a little bit scared to have because, the end result of the conversation, it's pretty much black and white. It's either we're all on the same page, let's do this, or, you figure out somebody in the band isn't on the same page and keeping them in the band is going to hold you back. And you have to be, you owe it to yourself to be honest and say, this might not work out with like, so and so because, they, aren't willing to give up, as much as like we are, or, they don't see it working out, long term or something like that. And I mean, it can't really be understated how hard of a thing that is to do, especially at this level. You don't meet your bandmates, through like, big like industry, I don't know, like connections or whatever like that. You meet them because, oh, this is the dude in my like communication class or something like that, So it's like people have different mindsets about, like where they want to end up and, stuff like that. And there's not always the guarantee that like, okay, we see this going the same place, or that we're all willing to put in the same amount of like effort to get there. And it's like the saying of a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, where it's like if there's one weak link on that chain and you apply any sort of weight to it, that chain is going to snap. And
Yeah.
it's exactly like that with a band,
Yeah.
So
It's hard because bandmates are discovered. You can't force it. And
right.
it's a long process over time. It makes sense to sort of have some trial together and experimentation together. Well, what would you guys like to promote? Do you have shows coming up, any singles or EPs or records that are coming out in the near future?
mid-January we're back to shows. There's January 24th in Orlando, January 30th in Tampa, and then we're doing a small Florida tour in February, I think 19th through 22nd, I think. Whatever that weekend is, we'll be going around the major cities for that. So that's what we're looking forward to.
And then we're working towards new music right now, so look out for any news on that. We had our friend Zan shooting our Warped Tour set on like his like fancy camera, so that set will be on our YouTube channel. Look out for your local bands releasing new stuff too. There are definitely some good things that get sort of overlooked just based on, this band's not like, they're just like a local band or whatever, but there's there's diamonds in the rough, I promise you.
Yeah,
We're
that's right.
Yeah.
on our Instagram. We're constantly promoting like the shows in our area and just other bands in our area, and we're also like planning on expanding all that stuff out to other scenes and highlighting things from random places and things like that. So
I love that. I love that spirit. Well, I'm going to wrap this up. You've been listening to the Holy Fool podcast. Holy Fool is a nonprofit community of artists and patrons based in Denver, Colorado, devoted to holding all things in common. We especially want to support working musicians who are trying to figure out how to become financially sustainable and holistically sustainable to do music and just write songs, record them, be in a band, play shows, etc., etc. Our guests have been Jimmy and James from Florida rock band Walking Blue. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, James. Thanks for being here, guys.
thanks for having us.
Thank
Ben.
you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, totally. Great to meet you too. Great chatting. I loved every bit of it. All right. See ya.